And we are live. What's going on, everyone? Is live with Kenny, episode 77, if I remember correctly. And today, I wanted to make it somewhat of a fun stream, but it's reality check 2024. As you guys know, Donald Trump has been doing things with his transition team. A lot of leftist narratives being spun. If he going to RFK, him being a vaccine denier and all this stuff. Tulsi Gabbard being a Russian asset. All this narrative that they seem to spiral around Donald Trump, his cabinet team. Uh, I just want to try to debunk these things. Not really debunk, but really highlight to you all how a lot of these leftist narratives do not live in the world of reality. Today, I wanted to make it a short one. I just wanted to just make it a short one, right? So, one leftist narrative that I plan to debunk. Wow, appreciate it, Dense with incels. Wow, my first time being on time. I appreciate you guys for coming in. Please like the video on your way in as I continue with this leftist narrative. So, one of the biggest left wing narratives that I always heard throughout the year was uh, Republicans are responsible for political violence, political rhetoric, yada, yada, yada. And I found an interesting story to kind of challenge that narrative that the left love to push. Wife of famed trans writer charged with bludgeoning her dad to death with an ice. Oh my God, I can't even speak. Ice axe after Trump wins. Wow. When the cops arrived, they found Burke clapping because she was so happy. I'll repeat that again. Burke clapping because she was so happy. You think if you gave an average leftist the opportunity, hey, leftist, you have an opportunity to harm and kill your political rival, you think they wouldn't do it? Wouldn't this lady sound like the type of person to take a shot at the president of the United States? This is this is why I laugh, right? Because if you bring up Chaz, you bring up BLM, they quick to remind you about January 6th, but this is not an apples and apples comparison. You have the left wing people have more instances of violence. Even if you look at leftist history, I'm reading a book right now, right, about leftism and how it took over academia from Christopher Rufo, if I remember his name correctly, and he talks about the violent history of progressive leftists, right? Going from the Black Liberation Movement, these people were assassinating cops. This is a left wing movement. Angela Davis was part of this movement, the Black Liberation Movement. They were the first iteration of BLM. Oh, their acronyms even match up. BLM, Black Liberation Movement. And a lot of the ideology that the Black Lives Matter run with is the same ideology as the Black Liberation Movement. But Black Liberation Movement was a lot more violent than the BLM movement. The BLM movement, they destroyed property, they killed some people. Some people died amongst the the BLM riots, destroyed a lot of properties. Cops were getting harmed. A lot of people were getting harmed in that. But this is the epitome of left wing violence. Now, you can point to some right wing violence. I'm sure there's some. I'm probably missing a lot. But the idea that violent rhetoric only comes from the right, it's a narrative that is not holding water in our current day and age, right? But I don't want to spend too much time on it because I'm really trying to be disciplined with how I use my time because I'm only planning to be here for an hour. So let's see if I can keep myself to that. Next narrative, right? Remember during COVID in 2020, we heard nothing but the science, the science, the science, right? And a lot of people, this is one of the reasons why RFK, many American people want RFK to be the the human. I always get mixed up with this name, but the health czar is because of the fact that many leftists leverage their positions of authority to push their purview onto the masses. A top scientific American editor outed after calling Trump supporters fascists, which is another narrative we're going to kind of highlight at the end of the hour with Chank debating someone I consider center right, but I digress. That's for later on to the video. The editor-in-chief of Scientific America announced Thursday that she would leave the publication days after facing backlash for a profanity-laced social media post about President-elect Donald Trump's supporters. Laura Helmuth, hopefully didn't pronounce that as bad as I think I did, who claimed that that Generation X was full of effing fascist. As Trump defeated Vice President Kamala Harris last week and said that she would be moving on from the publication. Hillmuth previously apologized for comments which she said did not reflect the views of the Scientific America, the nation's oldest continuously published magazine. I have decided to leave Scientific America after an exciting 4.5 years as editor-in-chief, Hellmuth posted on the social media site Blue Sky. This is another thing that I want to highlight too. The left has always had this persona growing up. I'm 96. I'm a young millennial. I'm considered the youngest millennial. And we always grew up with this idea that the left was so much tolerant than the right. And what I found to realize at my 28 years of life is that conservatives are actually the more tolerant one. Let me explain. Conservatives may not agree with your lifestyle, but conservatives don't mind you living your lifestyle as long as you're not trying to push it on them. Or if you are trying to push your lifestyle on them, conservatives will hope that you allow them to do the same. Case in point, the LGBTQ lifestyle. If you want to push it, you want to parade it around in schools, you want to put the rainbow flags in schools, it's all good by the conservative. As long as the conservatives can go out and preach to you, hand you Bibles, put a Christian cross on the classroom, all conservatives really care about is a two-way street. If you don't want me to push my beliefs on you, then you should not be allowed to push your beliefs on me. But with liberals, it seems like they say they have a certain like kind of standard. One side is allowed to push their values, LGBTQ. I'm just using this as an example. But the other side, oh, no. We have to be respectful for everyone's religion. We don't want to create peer pressure and feel people have to be pressured to follow along what we believe. We say happy holidays, not Merry Christmas over here, because they don't care about religion or cultural norms or societal norms. They don't care about all that stuff. But they try to normalize a lifestyle that they believe that they politically benefit from, right? And this is why it goes full circles with the Hispanic vote. Hispanics voted large percentages of them for Trump. Now you hear liberals saying, I hope these Hispanic men gets deported. Oh, I thought wishing people getting deported was such a xenophobic thing. Because they realize, oh, I can't benefit from you anymore. Oh, you're not voting the way that I want you to vote. Bye-bye. And these kind of things that's harmed a lot of the credibility of our institutions, because a lot of our institutions are ran by these liberals. These liberals go through the college system, they get in positions of power, and once they get into a managerial role or a hiring role where they can hire people, they tend to hire people of the same political ideology as themselves, aka create a gatekeeping mechanism within our society. Dancing with Incel says he hopes that Trump's administration is nothing but good news for the next 4 years. Key is literally the most incompetent debater I've ever seen. Oh, Chank, I think that's how you said his name. We'll get to him too. So before I go into the Twitter dives, which I'm really using as like my main focus, 1 million new users sign up to leftist social media platform Blue Skies after Trump wins. Blue Sky has taken on the role of being a safe space for those who struggle to deal with other people's political ideas. And this gets to my point about the dogma of the left, right? Leftists always used to slander claims about religion. And you guys, if you're new to this channel, I believe religion has a component in our society. Religion prescribes meaning for us as a society. It creates social norms, right? Because essentially all laws, in a way, it came from the Bible, really. The 10 Commandments, everyone kind of agree, yeah, that makes sense. Let's make laws that kind of surround these 10 Commandments, right? And that dictates social norms, culture. Religion talks about this a lot. And I think religion has a very detailed view of how human nature is conveyed in relations to each other. And the fact that we replace religion with political ideology, and the Bible makes this claim. I take the Bible in a philosophical way. I know many people don't believe that religion and philosophy could mix, but I believe they do mix because I believe they're searching for the same thing. And these leftists will think, oh, we can never fall into dogmatic thinking, right? And dogmatic thinking is something I just learned this term actually. It's called the zealot's corner. Let me see. Let me Google it real quick. Bear with me. You know, I'm a slow typer. Zealot's corner meaning. What's the meaning of a zealot's corner? No, it's not showing me. Zealots. Wait, hold on. Give me a sec. My misspellings. You should see his debate on Israel with that English chick. He was so bad. Hey, Cenk, Cenk is. What do you mean? I can, Cenk yogurt, bro. Oh my god. Hi, Kenny. American Hi. How are you? I'm trying to find Zealot's Corner, and now I can't find it. But the premise of Zealot's Corner essentially is it's another way of representing dogma, and this is dogma, right? That you're running away to another space not because you're being censored, people are hurting you, people are threatening you. No, these people take differences of political opinion as a threat to their self-esteem, to their ideology, to their mental health, right? And it's baffling to me how these people pretend they'll sit here and lecture people about being open-minded, but minute you get a platform where they don't have the advantage, they run away. Blue Sky, a left-wing social media platform, reported that it has attracted over 1 million new users since the presidential election. Following Elon Musk's appointment to President-elect's administration, technically he's not part of the administration, certain users have expressed their desire for an alternative to X, previously known as Twitter, as per The Guardian. Blue Skies was founded in 2019 by former Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey. The corporate of the old Twitter, right? So Twitter in 2020, when Joe Biden won the election and they were allowed to ban stories that was inconvenient to Joe Biden's candidacy, to Democratic narratives, they were fine with that. But the moment Elon Musk buys it and just say, hey, Alex Jones, you're not banned anymore. Donald Trump, you're not banned anymore. All of a sudden, these people were raging because they realized they lost control of a platform. Remember when they were making fun of Elon? Oh, Elon Musk spent $44 billion. He's never going to see that money back. Twitter is dead. I remember I have a bunch of my leftist friends bragging about Twitter being dead. Oh, he fired 50% of the corporation. Yeah, this app is going to be, this app is not going to last any longer. 4 years later, now all the leftists realize how valuable X has become. Like, imagine that. X is where everything is when it comes to news and politics. Like, imagine my home live stream, I'm running it off of X. Like, literally, I have a bunch of bookmarks and one post by post to anchor my conversations. We're going to talk about stuff around there. And the fact that the left is running away from X shows you that these people, like, this is why I feel so strongly, like, this is why I feel like I can make this video. Leftist narratives can't stand hard facts. Leftist narratives can't handle scrutiny. And that's one thing. Ask me a question I can't answer, not an answer I can't question. Liberals are the second. The liberals are, you can't question an answer I give you. If black people's doing bad in life, it's because of racism. If black people can't make it in college, it's because of racism. That's an answer that if you questioned, they'll call you a racist. Make it make sense. Women are getting 77 cents of a dollar compared to what a man makes. It has to be sexism. You question that answer, they'll call you a sexist. Kamala Harris lost because she was a black woman. Black woman. And you go, no, she was a bad candidate. You're a misogynist. This is the leftist narrative. But when you look at the hard facts, when you look at the reality, because they're going to say, "Oh, Donald Trump didn't technically win the popular vote. There wasn't mass turnout. There's 15 million people missing." And I'm like, "Yo, your candidate couldn't galvanize 15 million people to go vote for her, and somehow you're trying to use that to damper on Trump's victory." Far left-leaning celebrities and individuals turned off by the ideology of the ex-leadership. Blue Skies has taken on the role of being a safe space for those who struggle to deal with other people's political opinions, right? Remember when people were saying the same thing about Gab? Oh, see, the leftists, this is the funny part about the leftists, and this is why leftist narratives, when it falls to hard facts, it crumbles. When they won 2020 and we created Gab, right? People were trying to go on Gab, Truth Social. Leftists mock us. Oh, look at them. They couldn't handle being on a platform. They can't handle other people's ideas. And then 4 years later, you're doing this very same thing that you was just condemning in 2020. These people are inconsistent. And that's one thing you'll notice about the leftist narrative is that a lot of the things they project onto people they disagree with, people they don't like, they're guilty of doing the same thing. Not being open-minded, closed-mindedness. They pretend that they're so tolerant. It's all a lie. According to the company, the surging users who are mostly from North America and the United Kingdom, two of the Western civilizations that was most mad about Donald Trump winning, Javier Milei was happy, has helped Blue Skies grow from 9 million users in September to around 15 million users globally. Despite its growth, the platform still has fewer active users than X and Meta Threads. Similar to X's list feature, Blue Skies allows users to create their own customized feed, giving them control of what they can view. The site's anti-toxicity feature, according to the Blue Skies designer, shields users from harassment and dogpiling. Weak. Reports came out, and now we're going to switch over to some news, right? This is, there's rumors, right? ABC Brass scrambles to bring in a pro-Trump voice to The View and other shows. Panic mode, right? There were rumors out there that The View was looking for a pro-Trump voice after the results of the election because everyone on The View's panel, right? So much about diverse opinions and views. Everyone on this panel you see here, everyone on The View picked Kamala to win, right? And then after that, after the election night, that was probably their most highly rated rated show, November 6th, after Trump won the election, because everyone wanted to see their reaction. Here's Amala Epanobi. About 3 years ago, I interviewed to be a conservative voice on The View. Based on the questions they asked, it seemed that they were looking for a lukewarm conservative who would provide just enough pushback to be considered different from the other women, but not enough to make waves. I hope that has changed. Now, they brushed this aside and said, this is not true. We got high ratings. We don't need no pro-Trump voice. But I believe that, I'm trying to find the video right now. I believe that they do need a pro-Trump voice because it's starting to get like unwatchable, right? Only people who watch The View is pretty much political people like us and their audience. And one of the things I realized is that they have like almost, like I said, it's not a two-way street. They're inconsistent. They have one standard for one person. They don't have another, right? Watch Bill Clinton full speech at 2024 DNC. This is Glenn Greenwald. If liberals want to accuse Tulsi of being a Russian a Russian agent, and Gates for being a sex trafficker, both very grave crimes, it's probably worth asking why the Biden DOJ never indicted them for that. And why do Dems swoon over every 4 years over credible accused of rape Bill Clinton, right? But here they are. Oh, Matt Gaetz is a bad choice. But Bill Clinton ain't the most, savory guy. All right, this is the double standard that I point out a lot about leftist narratives. They'll make this narrative, oh my God, America is crap. I expected decent people to be here in America. How could y'all voted for an alleged rapist? They talking about Trump this time. But look at who they swoon over. Yo, you hear the stuff? You heard the wild stuff that Bill Clinton did in the White House? He put a cigarette in a woman's you-know-what. But they like to hop around Trump's grab her by the pee. But Bill Clinton put the cigarette in the pee in the White House while he was president. And they want to virtue signal on us about ethics and morals? I swear, bro. I swear. We're going to get into some videos because this is the insanity of the left, right? They propagandize people into so much fear. I know my mom's a victim of their propaganda. My mom's so fearful of Donald Trump's administration, bro. It's wild. It's like you can't have a coherent conversation with my mom. And what this guy's going to spill, he's going to hit a bar here with Sean Hannity. And I think everyone needs to hear this message because this is one of the main problems with leftist narratives is that it relies heavily on conditioning people's perception and not actually telling them of reality. Because a lot of the narratives that these leftists like to push, they have no evidence, they have no substantive, like, deterministic fact or observation that they can point to validate their statements about people that they want to characterize as bad. But I digress. Let's get into this clip here.
All right, here with reaction, he is the chief patient officer at the wellness company. Dr. Drew Pinsky is with us. All right, so women are shaving their heads. They're pledging to either divorce their husbands or partners or don't have sex with them. They're stockpiling abortion pills. They're getting advice from the Washington Post on how to leave the country. Maybe they believe their own lies or the lies that were told during, and the hyperbole and the hype and the misinformation during the campaign, because there's no reason to leave. I will be the first person to stand up for their right to say stupid things if they want.
Yep. Well, I'm just glad to see that they moved from the blue talisman over their face and nose to a blue talisman bracelet on their wrist, because it's the same damn thing. And the whole headline here, Sean, is hysteria. Hysteria and delusion, and the source of this has been mainstream media. The American public has been propagandized to the point that they literally become mentally ill. And the thing about delusionality is,
I can end the video right there. That is the truth. That is the truth about leftist narratives. That you condition these people, you condition them so much that they see the world in a certain lens. Donald Trump's Hitler. Donald Trump's Hitler. Donald Trump's Hitler. Threat to democracy. Threat to democracy. Threat to democracy. And then November 7th or whatever day it was that Trump went to the White House, Joe Biden, we're going to help you with your smooth transition. And welcome back, President-elect Donald Trump. And then you got Charlemagne, I'm going to be nice, Charlemagne going, damn, I can't get over the fact that Joe Biden welcomed Donald Trump into the White House. If they really was saying the truth and this guy is Hitler and he's just all these bad things, how can he sit so comfortably with Donald Trump in the White House, helping him transition into power? How can you let Hitler transition into power? And this what crumbles the leftist narratives. The hard facts. Look at someone's actions, not their words. The hard fact is Democrats, leftists never believed the hype that they were spewing. Only their voters did. Oh, politics is a tough game. So all that was just politics? All the leftists online on X, they're going, it was just politics? What's up, Cheeseworks? Glad you can make it into the chat. All that was just politics? And it's so crazy that once the election's over, I have not heard a Democrat use Donald Trump as a threat to democracy. Now all I hear is online is they're trying to make me or people who voted for Trump somehow feel buyer's remorse. How can we feel buyer's remorse when the dude's not even in office yet? Trump has been killing it with his cabinet picks. He has. Doug Burgum, Interior, I think. Some other people, so many people. But after he nominated RFK, I stopped following. But Doug Burgum, I think he's a good choice. So he kept his word with RFK. Yes, I mean, he's a deal maker, right? That's what Donald Trump is going to be known as, deal maker and chief. But back to the leftist narrative, it's appealing to emotion, right? It's to prime people like to get fearful, to get emotional, right? And then you tell them, okay, give me a reason to justify your emotional reaction to Donald Trump. And they can't give you anything because all it has been was a repetition, right? And socialists talk about this all the time. If you're new to this channel, I remember there's live streams that I have on this channel where I was going through socialism and how socialist tactics is one of them is you call it brainwashing, priming, it's repetition. If you repeat a lie often enough, people will believe it to be true. And this is the epitome. This is the reality of leftist narratives. But I digress. Let Dr. Drew cook.
It can't be reasoned with. We have literally been through a stage of delusion that started with the first Trump presidency. It was put into absolute orbit with COVID. We now have the new HHS document that showed how the propaganda was done, how many hundreds of millions of dollars were spent, and vulnerable people we're affected by this. And I would say the way to deal with your family the members that are like this, compassionate firmness. Firmness, not rationality, not discourse, because argumentation will not work. They're delusional, but firmness. Because the reality is, this is like a cult. What do cults do? They separate families. They separate the cult
Oh my
member
God.
from the family. And
what a good point, right? This is why they had to separate, right? And if you just got into it, welcome Tim Meyer. Hopefully I said your name right. And this is what goes back to my point about, now I'm going backwards on my stories to highlight. They do blue skies. What's the point of blue skies? Like, no one's like, X didn't ban any leftist guy that I know of. No one's getting banned. These celebrities are saying, deuces, catch me on blue sky, and they're gone. Cult-like behavior, right? A wife of a trans writer killed her own father with an ice axe. And when the cops arrived, she was clapping because she was so happy. What? You got people disowning family members over politics. That was sign number one. Don't cults tell you to do that? Oh, they won't understand. They don't. Your family doesn't understand how we do things here, right? Don't listen to them. This is craziness. This is left wing. This is leftist narratives. The leftist narrative is, I, as a Trump supporter, somehow I'm in a cult. We're in a cult. All of us in a cult. Oh my God, these Trump supporters, they're in their bubble. They don't listen to evidence. They don't listen to facts. All they believe is conspiracy theories. I got a clip to, highlight our conspiracy theories and how well those things turn out. But in reality, if you go with my liberal projection fallacy, that leftists project everything that they themselves are guilty of. They portray the very same actions, thoughts, and behaviors they accuse Trump supporters of doing. You distance yourself from that. Like, I don't know a Trump supporter that said, I disown my family because they voted for Harris Waltz. I never heard a Trump supporter say that. I never heard a conservative say that. I never heard a Republican say that in my life of breathing air. I'm sure it happens. But more common than not, it's a Democrat. And I remember I showed studies on my channel that Democrat women are the most likely to disown their families or disassociate with someone of a different political opinion. Second is Democrat men. Then it's Republican women. And lastly is Republican men. So the two people who are most likely to disassociate with someone because of different political opinions are both Democrats, male and female. The female being the most likely to do it. And they want to call Donald Trump a threat to democracy. When reality is legacy media, these unethical journalists that use their position of journalism to push their worldview on everyone else. And if you don't agree with that worldview, somehow you are a bad person. Dr. Drew, continue cooking.
This is how they get their way. We must fight against that.
All right, if you look at the 9 years and every major newspaper in the country, 3 broadcast channels in the country, every liberal news channel in the country, it was almost 24/7. I hate Donald Trump. Donald Trump's bad. He's evil. He's this. He's that.
Sure.
The amazing thing to me, the outcome of this election, all the celebrity endorsements didn't matter. All the musicians playing concerts, that didn't matter. All of the legacy media attacking Trump didn't matter. And the American people didn't listen to them. And I've been making the statement that legacy media in America is dead.
Yep, and they committed suicide themselves. Because if you look at it, articles, I think I referenced them before. There was articles where they said that many Americans believe that majority of Americans believe that the media was the biggest threat to Americans. Many Americans prescribe division. Media is responsible for the division in our country. Right? I could let me Google it real quick. Media threat to America. Nope. Studies. Oh my! I can't find. I can never find these articles on the spot. Huh? Media. Americans believe. Sorry. Give me a sec. Americans believe media threat to America. There you go. It's a Hills article. Here you go. Now you want to be slow. Nearly 60% sees mainstream media. It says as a threat to democracy, according to polls. Right. More than half of all registered voters see the mainstream media as a threat to America democracy, according to new polls. This poll. When was this article made? I'm trying to find the article. This was made literally 2 years ago. 2 years ago in October. Threat to democracy. More than half of Americans, according to a poll, the divide fell sharply along partisan lines. 87% of Trump voters said that the media was a big major threat, while only 30% of Biden voters said that. So, which gives credence to the idea that only Biden supporters trust the mainstream media. Oh, what's going on? What's going on? Oh, okay. I don't know what happened. Sorry, guys. I don't know what happened. We glitched out a little bit. I'm waiting for it to rebuff. I think we're good. So this is the media, right? This is the media, right? Gallup, they don't have it. But one of the things that I remember, one of the quotes that I pulled from the article was that the media, you trust social media more than you trust the TV, was essentially my summarization of the point. And I just want to really highlight
So you
something.
don't call Trump Hitler, and you don't call the Republicans Nazis.
Oh, sorry.
But when you say the word fascist, as you
you guys got a preview of what I'm going to look at. So I don't think a better example of fascism than hate speech and disinformation laws, right? Or content moderation. And this is stuff that like these guys on mainstream media, all they do is lie, right? Because they want to talk about misinformation, WEF, the biggest concern the biggest threat to our global power or all of this stuff is disinformation, misinformation. And that's a leftist narrative that they love to push on the right. And my counter to that narrative is the fact that people, you can think for yourself and be like, I don't believe that premise. You are portraying a false premise with not much evidence, with not much facts, and you just want me to go along to get along. No. Cheese works. Perception becomes the truth. We become what we think. This is Tim Meyer about. They keep repeating it over and over again, and people will believe it. It is human nature, and they know it. Exactly. Right? And this is why they want disinformation, misinformation laws, because they want to content moderate. They don't want another view counteracting what they're pushing out. This is why they have such hard time building consensus, aka controlling consensus. This is why they say they can't let truth distract from building consensus, aka building a narrative, aka building a perception. This is why I said the mainstream media, their job is not to really inform us, it's to control our perception. Cheeseworks says, what do you think of Matt Gaetz? I'm a Trumper, but Gaetz looked like a spineless movie villain, and I don't like what he did to Speaker McCarthy. I'm conflicted about it because I believe McCarthy couldn't be trusted. So I agree in some parts of what Matt Gaetz did. I do agree that Matt Gaetz, he's going to be the hardest one to confirm. But I also think that Trump is using Matt Gaetz as a way to see it's almost like a test. Matt Gaetz is a test to see how compliant will the GOP will be to work with him. Because he say, hey, you want to help my agenda? Matt Gaetz is going to help me push my agenda. I want him in. And he's loyal to me, which is something I think Trump is valuing a lot. Now, a lot of the allegations against him are unfounded, unproven as of right now. There's not a lot of information. And I'm humble enough to tell you that I don't know. So I can't really make a statement on Matt Gaetz. All I can say is he vehemently denies all the allegations against him. And actually, I think I have something for you, Cheesework, when it comes to Matt Gaetz. Candace Owens did something recently. She talked more in depth about his case. It's like a minute and something seconds. So hopefully I get around to doing that. But I want to get this transition thing out of the way because leftist narratives are getting debunked left and right. So here's the transition. I'm pretty sure we all seen this video.
I mean, did you ever think you'd see literal Hitler in the Oval Office Come on,
with the
Scott.
President of the United States. I mean, you know what I see in all
Scott,
this?
that's not. I mean, Biden didn't say that literally.
It was the underpinning of the Democratic campaign.
And this is one thing I can't stand with leftists too. It's like this is a typical behavior of them. When you catch them on their BS, when you catch them on them making on things they can't substantiate, like they have a claim, oh, Donald Trump's a racist. Okay, what racist thing he has said? They can't. Oh, he says so many racist things. Okay, give me one. Usually they can't give you any. And even if he said there's very fine people on both sides. Oh, well, that's a lie because if you watch the full video, I watched the full video. He said after that he wasn't talking about the white supremacists. He was talking about the people that were protesting to keep the statue and people who were protesting to take away the statue, not the white supremacists. So you took him out of context, and based on your interpretation of what he said, you want to label him a racist. Make it make sense. And usually they shut up, they screech at you, and that's usually ends their whole narrative because they want you to just go along to get along. And I think once you get out of the herd mentality, and that's why I said in 2024 and moving forward, especially in this the technological age, I think critical thinking will be the most valuable skill you can have in this day and age, in this era.
That Donald Trump is a fascist. And what I see in this, I'm glad it's happening, but what it tells me and what it ought to tell Democrats is they didn't mean any of it. It was all campaign rhetoric. And I think, to me...
And she's shaking her head, but that's the truth. Like, I don't understand how leftists can get away in doing all this stuff, right? And then this whole dramatization with RFK, right? Let's a trip down memory lane. Be sure to remind outraged Democrats, leftist narrative. Obama considers stars for cabinet. November 5th, 2008. President-elect Barack Obama is strongly considering RFK to head the Environmental Protection Agency, a cabinet post, Democratic officials told Politico. Yet here they are screeching about Mao. This guy is kooky. He's crazy. But 2008, Barack Obama was considering adding him to his cabinet. So now, 16 years later, now they're going to act like it's unconscionable to have RFK. I'm just going in at this point. Now I'm rolling now. Here's a post from Insurrection Barbie. I find it amazing how quickly Republicans forget what Democrats did when they were in power. It took them exactly 2 minutes to issue 46 executive orders to undo everything Donald Trump did to secure the border, fire every Trump-appointed member of the DOJ, right? Now all these DOJ members are threatening to quit if Matt Gaetz becomes Attorney General, which is what we want. We want is that, yo, you're cleaning out yourselves at this point. They're like rats jumping out of a sinking ship. Appointing Matthew Graves to go after January 6 protesters, insert DEI, racial quotas, wokeism into every single part of their government, and purge the military of anyone who is center-right. But they don't want Trump to do the same thing to them. Make it make sense. You can only treat someone can only treat you as good as you treat them. That's basic, like everyone, that's basic courtesy. Don't treat someone that you don't want them to treat you. This is crazy. They did this within weeks of getting power. After that, they proceeded to raid the homes of a former president, and they wonder why Trump doesn't want the FBI to do background checks on any of his cabinet members. They wonder why. Cover up the crimes of the sitting president and his corrupt son and throw grandmothers praying in front of abortion clinics in jail. How quickly everyone forgets the outrage when Trump was convicted by a biased jury in a biased jurisdiction by a biased DA, Alvin Bragg, after the third most important person in the Department of Justice all of a sudden became a lowly state prosecutor. Democrats are ruthless, and they know how to use power, and they know how to abuse power. Yet, what's the narrative? Trump wants to be a dictator. Shout out to Cenk Uyghur. I never advocated that we abuse power, but the minute Republicans win, they can't wait to get on their K-Suite dinners, lobbyist lunches, and do 2-minute Fox hits. And this has been the old brand of the Republican Party, is that once they get in power, they just want to sit on their hands, use it as a way to get campaign money into their party, glorified losers, right? The epic weakness of Republicans is the reason why they have never won another election if it had not been for Donald Trump. And this is why Trumpism won. This is why populism has taken over the Republican Party. Mike Pence, right? I know this is about leftists, but I got to talk about Mike Pence. Mike Pence talked about when he was running in the primaries this election that he wanted to write out populism out of the Republican Party. But populism is the only reason the Republican Party has life right now. And Donald Trump is the leader of that movement. The American First Movement is a populist movement. Hey, for too long, both parties have not been putting the American people's needs first. And you saw a little bit of that with the Senate majority election, the secret ballots. They still do it. They're still holding on. They're desperately fighting that off. But this is why I said Matt Gaetz is going to be an important barometer to how compliant the GOP establishment is going to be to Trump's plan and agenda. Because if you're going to hold up Trump's appointment because you don't like Matt Gaetz, it shows that you still think, no, you're not going to, you're still planning to somehow undermine Donald Trump. And I think this is what the Matt Gaetz pick shows about Donald Trump is like, yo, I'm gonna elect my cabinet, I'm gonna elect my people, and you better not get in my way. Essentially, is the message that I'm getting when I saw he nominated Matt Gaetz. So all the cowards in the Republican Party who wants to play patty cake with people who hasn't even hesitate to bankrupt you, throw you in prison, and find your damn spine, or at least if you can't figure out where your spine is, stop trying to take out Donald Trump's. And I think this is the outrage about Matt Gaetz trying to create this controversy. Oh, I don't know about Matt Gaetz. That all got to stop. Because this is what they're talking about. You're trying to take Donald Trump's spine. I really like Pete Hegseth, though. I'm joining the Marines, and we'll need strong leaders like him. All right, hey, Cheese Work. I hope you join the Marines. I hope you you make it. I don't know what to say when people say they want to join the military. I don't know what to say. I always feel like, okay, good luck. I don't know. Dear RFK, here's my wish list of what I hope you do at HHS. Give liabilities back to vaccine manufacturers. This is all people want. Double-blind studies, vax versus unvaxxed kids, right? This is all we want. All we want is to change the methodology of how they conduct these tests and these studies, because we don't believe that these studies accurately highlight any symptoms or problems with the vaccines. That's it. That's all I'm asking, YouTube. Don't cancel me. Don't ban this video. We just asking questions. Ask the CDC vax schedule. Oh, people ain't gonna like that one. Real studies on where the epidemic of autism, autoimmune disease, cancer, and other chronic disease are coming from, and how best to manage and treat and reverse them. One thing I speculate as well is, I know our health has something to do with it too, but I also think maybe there's some correlation with the fact that women nowadays are having kids a lot later in life. And I don't know if that could be also another correlating factor to why we have a lot more autism than compared to other. But these are all questions that people just want to ask. We just want answers to, and we're just asking the health experts to look at it. That's it. That's all we're asking for. Prohibit Big Pharma from funding of the medical school curriculum. Oh, yeah, that could influence stuff. Ban DEI at the medical institutions. Ban trans ideology, which is not based on any science or fact, but leftist narratives. Trump supporters don't believe in science. And science has gotten, this is one thing that the left-wing media has completely destroyed, is the trust in science. Because of the fact that the science was used to justify COVID and all this other stuff, that many people became very skeptical of the science. Because the science, it points to a very politicized science. A science where alternative scientists gets shunned, punished, censored. They lose their licenses revoked, right? And this is something that I want to highlight for years, because the leftist narrative, right? I know I'm going all over the place, but I'm trying to bring myself back to the center. The biggest leftist narrative that I want to debunk right now is, remember the idea when people were saying that the conservatives, Republicans were becoming more right-wing extremists, when the reality is that the left-wing Democrats are becoming left-wing extremists. They're becoming more left-wing, right? Because essentially Donald Trump is center-right politician. I think he's one of the most moderate Republicans we had in history. Because only a moderate can get a former Democrat, a Kennedy, to join his administration. Who's doing that? Who's doing that? Kenny is wavering. Or weaving. Kenny is weaving. Yep. I got to adjust myself. Over the last decade, Democrats in the media said said that those of us who oppose DEI, racial quotas, and open borders had gone far right. We haven't. Rather, Democrats and the media has gone far left. We are only now emerging from 10 plus years of extremist, psychopathic gaslighting. Is that not the left? Democrats have shifted leftward on cultural issues in recent years. In 2008, guys, Hillary Clinton was for being tough on the border. She was like, if you came here illegally and you committed a crime, you got to go. If you're here illegally and you want to stay, you got to pay a fine. That was Hillary Clinton. Obama, hey, we need to put moats on the border. We need to put some alligators in there. Obama 2008 was saying that. Now what the Democrat Party is saying to 2020. What is the Democrat Party saying in 2024? We need a comprehensive border plan. And in this comprehensive border plan, we need to process more illegal immigrants and give them legal status in this country, even though they broke the law in the first place before they got the legal status. This is what the Democrat Party want to run on. Because the Democratic Party knows, hey, these illegals, they're Democrat voters. And we kind of need more Democratic voters. But this is what they are. The average position of the Americans who identify as strong Democrats and strong Republicans. Republicans damn near stayed the same. Moved a little bit to the left in 2008, and then they went right back to normal. And then in 2020, they slightly went back to the left a little bit. While you see the Democrats, they went way to the left. Supporting and increasing or cutting immigration was one of the questions. Make no mistake, it was mainstream news media that included the mass psychosis that radicalized Democrats into believing that the U.S. has somewhat become more racist against all available evidence. Racism in America. Look at this, people. Look at the Washington Post. And remember when Jeff Bezos said, hey, the Washington Post, we don't want you endorsing candidates anymore, and everyone in the Washington Post got mad? Look at them. They was the ones who radicalized Democrats. They kept putting out stories, right? And it's the same thing with interracial crime. They want to focus on interracial crime when it's a white on black crime. But they don't want to acknowledge the fact that black on white crime is the biggest instance of interracial crime in America. But that don't fit their narrative. So anytime a white person do anything criminal to a black person, it's national news instantly. But the minute a black person does something to an Hispanic person, Asian person, they quiet about it. Stop Asian hate. If you look at the statistics, black people perpetrate the most Asian hates out of every racial group. And what's the narrative? White people are bad. Mainstream media, legacy media. The media did this. The mass brainwashing came from college-educated elites in control of the most powerful propaganda machine in the world. Malcolm X, right? And you guys know me. I know I could be ideological, but my thing is, hey, if in reality what you're telling me is true, I believe your thing to be true as long as it's based in reality. AKA, I could observe it, I could reproduce it, I could see it, I can test it. As long as you can demonstrate something in reality, I'll believe you. I'll trust you. I'll acknowledge your stance. Malcolm X, he said this about the mainstream media. He said the media is the most dangerous entity in the Western Hemisphere. It can make the innocent guilty and the guilty innocent. Is that not what they're trying to do right now with Donald Trump? Donald Trump's a racist, but he's not a racist. Donald Trump's a racist. If I were to rephrase the quote, the media is the most dangerous entity in the world. It can make a racist not racist and a not racist racist. And that's Donald Trump. When you cover a guy 87% of the time negatively, you're a propaganda machine. They got Democrats to believe this ludicrous view that their fellow Americans has somewhat became secretly racist and practically overnight. Make it make sense. Leftist narratives, facts, don't care about your feelings. This is why I hate facts, because facts hurt your feelings. That's probably my bar right there. That's a bar right there. Facts hurt leftist feelings. Trademark Talks with Kenny. That's a quote from Talks with Kenny. Facts hurts leftist feelings. Media brainwashing turned moderate Democrats into raving radical leftists. They started using jargon like white supremacists. And if you look at the word usage of certain word terminologies, it dramatically increased during the Trump years. White privilege and structural racism, which is all academic, they all used to be in like woke college circles. Oblivious to their programming, they projected their extremism onto those of whose views haven't changed, which is this is a goated meme. 2008, center right, center left. My fellow liberal kept going. Progressive, they became bigot. And you're like, what? Oh, you're a fascist. Donald Trump's a fascist. That's Donald Trump. Donald Trump's the one in the center. And then the Democrat Party kept going more crazy. Actually, better example. This is RFK. RFK was in the middle. He's like, yo, what y'all doing? I'm anti-war. I'm for the government having to take the people's best interests at heart. We need to break up this relationship with government and businesses, which is a form of socialism, by the way. It's called corporatism, right? Right? When Democrats say, "Oh, we gotta fight capitalism," it's not capitalism they're trying to fight. It's corporatism. Let me see if I can find it. Kenny, what you're spelling? Corporatism. Let's see if I can find it. Corporatism. There you go. Social theory, corporatism. I know Wikipedia is not very reliable, but for this instance, I'll take them at their word. Corporatism is a political system of interest representative policymaker whereby a corporate group, such as an agricultural, labor, military, business, scientific, or guild association, comes together on and negotiate contracts or policies, collective bargaining, on the basis of their common interest. The term is derived from the Latin corporis, body. Corporatism does not refer to a political system dominated by a large business interest, even though the latter are commonly referred to as corporations in modern America vernacular and legal parlance. Corporatocracy, which is what we're living in right now, is an economic or political judicial system controlled by business corporations or corporate interests. But this is in a national scale, right? This is globalism, essentially. Right here. Globalism. This is globalism. This is NGOs. This is WEF. Corporatism is not a government corruption, in businesses or politics or the use of bribery by corporations introduced. The term corporatocracy and corporatism are often confused due to their names and the use of the corporations as the organ. So pretty much what corporatism is the relationship between the government and corporations and they having similar interests. One example of corporatism will be ESG. Hey, we're going to punish businesses, or we're not going to give you the best business terms if you're not having sustainability factored into your business practices. If you don't tell us how you affect climate change, are you sustainable? Are you green? If you're not green, I'm going to lend you a banking loan, but it's going to be like 10% higher than someone who does have a good ESG score. That's corporatism. But for many people, especially on the left, they like to claim that that's capitalism. That's not capitalism. Capitalism is essentially the more capitalistic, it's a range, but free market capitalism is what people, when conservatives say we want capitalism, that's what we refer to, right? And this type of corporatism is what's going on in the healthcare system right now with the pharmaceutical companies, big food. I just finished doing a video with RFK explaining in detail, and somewhat in detail, the little racket that's going on. You wonder why health insurance is so expensive? It's because there's a little meeting between government and corporations. And to me, that's a form of socialism. But I digress. By the time we got to 2016, Democrats had become completely unhinged. They made everything political, hunted heretics. This is where I get back to my point about how the left has turned science into a religion. And we'll get more into that later in this video. And weaponized the government. 3 core characteristics of totalitarianism. The re-election of Donald Trump broke the trance, but the damage to relationships remains. Exactly. Right? But they're talking about we're fascists. We're the fascists. Okay. Okay, buddy. Okay. So I want Peter Thiel, he had an interesting video. If you follow me on X, please do. He highlights something very important about science and how science got kind of misused by the left, right? Oh, no. Yeah. Science got misused by the left. And I honestly believe that in 2024, if the left had won, it would have been a rap ski for America. Dancing with Incel says, now that I think about it, it should be much easier finding a more well-rounded woman now that the 4B movement is here in America. Bro. Yes. I mean, you see a bald head, you automatically assume she's cuckoo. I mean, And look, people act out their ideology, honestly, right? These people, I don't know, man. The amount of like these people, like a part of me wants to feel bad for them, but at the same time, we all make our own choices in this life because these people are essentially been conditioned to be fearful of people because they've been taught or conditioned that people of a different political ideology is trying to do harm unto them. Right? They're gonna try to take our rights away. They're gonna do this. Oh, we're gonna swear off men. And if you see videos of these women, you're gonna be like, what man was touching you? Like, oh, can someone please tell me what a Trump supporter looks like so I can avoid them? I said, y'all wasn't compatible in the first place. And that's one of my 2 cents when it comes to dating. You know, I'm a married guy. I met my wife like in college, very young, like 19 years old. I met my wife. And one of the things I said is like, yo, a good long-term partner is someone who shares the same values as you. Like this idea is that, oh, you need to marry or date somebody that has opposite views from you. I said, no, that's introducing too much conflict in your relationship. Like you can have slight differences of opinion, but I believe your most important things, y'all should be like aligned. That should be looking at the same direction, right? When it comes to family, structure, how the family will be, if you guys going to be religious or not, you go to church or not. Like these important things, you have to be 100% aligned. Like minuscule things like, oh, I'm Android, I'm team Android, she's team Apple. That don't matter in a relationship. But when it comes to values and characters, I think that matters more. And that determines your relationship success more than like, like political affiliation. I think that's one of the most important things you got to air out right now because Democrat women will not date you if they find out you're a Trump supporter. So naturally they filter themselves out in the first place. And who wants to be with someone who cannot stand other people's political ideologies? And this is the funny part. They want to make this narrative that somehow conservative men are controlling and abusive. But who could be more controlling than a Democrat woman who's a condition to being with her is that you have to vote in lockstep with her. You have to agree with everything that she agrees with. And you think that person's gonna have a good relationship? And it's no wonder a lot of these liberal women are so miserable on the dating scene. Like it makes perfect sense why y'all struggling in the dating scene. Because you want essentially men to be slaves to you. And that don't make no sense. And then they want to be the same ones to talk about, oh, a traditional housewife is a slave in the relationship. But if you see how liberal women want their men to act and operate in a relationship, that seems more like slavery than anything a traditional man want from his wife. All a traditional man say, hey, this is my role, this is your role. I expect you to do your role, and you expect me to do my role, and that's it. We both mutually benefit each other. But a feminist is like, no. This man has to be a feminist. This man has to do things against his own interest. He has to do everything for me, for my life, for what's in my best interest, and I don't got to do nothing for him. I don't got to wash his clothes. I don't have to cook his dinner. And I'm like, I'm seeing videos like this. I'm like, who wants to be in a relationship with a woman that just wants you to be her roommate? I want you to pay all the bills, but then I'm not expected to do anything traditional. Make it make sense. You want to be a modern woman, but you want a traditional man. No, that's incompatible. You asking for a conflict in the relationship. But I digress. Dance with incels sidetracked me because I'm not trying to talk about culture here, but it's fine. This is leftist narratives for you. But I'll let Peter Thiel play out this full clip. Hopefully, I don't get copyrighted by Free Press.
Obviously, Elon gave people a great deal of cover. It certainly seemed incredibly dangerous to me what he did. Incredibly courageous. What would have happened to him if Trump would have lost, and then certainly it was maybe all of the rest of us can be a little bit more courageous than we otherwise were going to be. But he gave cover to everybody.
One of the things that was being said on both sides before the election by Oprah and Elon, and they sounded different saying it, but it was the same message, was that if their candidate didn't win, this was going to be the last American election.
Now, before he continues, what do you guys think in the chat? Do you agree with Oprah and Elon that if Well, for different reasons. But if, let's say, Kamala had won, do you think it would have been over here in America? I mean, she was running on the same platform as Venezuela. So, I mean, Elon, to me, his side of the argument was a lot more likely to be the scenario and likely to be the case, especially when you had Joe Biden's DOJ going after Donald Trump, raiding his house, try to get him on indictments, try to put him in jail. What else? What else they did to this man? Try to take him off the ballot so people couldn't vote for him. We got to protect democracy by denying you democracy. Like, the Democrats overtly are doing all this totalitarian stuff. We just finished going on a timeline of how left-wing media, these media news, legacy media, radicalize Democratic voters into being far left extremists. This is why liberal is now being synonymized with progressive. That's why me as a millennial, I see no difference between a liberal and a progressive, even though they're technically different. A progressive is more far left than a liberal. A liberal is considered center left, like a Bill Maher. But if you look at my generation, my millennial generation of a liberal, they're progressive. They're a Bernie Sanders person, kind of. Right? And this lady, I know she tried to do this. Oh, both sides were saying this, but I believe Elon had more credible views to see this because of the fact that, look at Rachel Maddow. She did a segment where she said that, hey, when Kamala Harris wins, we got to find a new place to take all these federal subsidies for building rockets and give it to another company that's worse. Like, imagine that. Boeing is the only other alternative, and I think Jeff Bezos was doing something with the state spacecraft too. But Boeing didn't even trust their own spacecraft to go get the astronauts that was in space. They asked Elon to do it with SpaceX. But Rachel Maddow says, hey, government, take your federal subsidies away from this corporation that's doing a great job, SpaceX, and give it to someone who's less qualified than they are because of politics. So honestly, I agree with Elon's Musk situation that if Kamala Harris had won, I would have seen a very bleak future for America.
I thought that was totally nuts, but maybe you don't. Or maybe you hear it differently.
I didn't want to believe Elon when he said this, and I
smart guy, man.
I texted him a few weeks before the election and told him, I hadn't believed you when you said this at first, but I think it's because psychologically I don't want to believe that. I don't want to believe that the country's so far gone that you have to leave the country or something. And but then the sense in which I felt that he was correct was that if Trump, with what I think much better substance, much better on so many things, could not win in 2024 against the machine, the machine would always win.
Exactly. Like, Kamala Harris was almost like a test for America. Oh, okay. Let's see, us, the Democratic Party, can we get away with nominating a person without a primary process? We prevented any primary challenges to Biden. Then Biden screwed us over by electing, by giving his endorsement to Kamala Harris, which forced us to fall behind Kamala Harris. We anointed her as our official nominee without a primary process, got her as our official nominee, and had her run for office, and we gave her $1 billion. And all the celebrity endorsements in the world. We have mainstream media covering her 85% of the time positively. If America had voted for Kamala Harris with all that in the backdrop, Democrat Party would be like, oh yeah, we can elect anybody. Let's get that teacup and elect it as president. They'll vote for it. It was a compliance test. And we passed it heavenly. Thank God. Because it would have shown them, okay, how much can we get away with? And I remember in my previous videos, I was saying this. Hey, we can't reward the Democratic Party for this. The Democratic Party has to lose. Because if we reward the Democratic Party, we'll set a precedent. We'll create an incentive structure where we reward candidates who don't have to go through a primary process, who don't even have to campaign and talk to us like that. All they have to do is get a bunch of positive press and celebrities, and they win. We would have rewarded a very elitist, a very bad for us way of processing, way of doing things. And I think Peter Thiel is right when he called it out that, yo, if we had elected her, it would have validated, okay, the American people are finally dumb enough that we could put a box of bricks up there and they'll vote for it as president, as long as we say good things about it.
And if the machine always wins, you no longer have a democracy. You know, you certainly no longer have a democratic process within the Democratic Party. You know, we can always debate the election shenanigans in November of 2020. The far more extraordinary thing was March of 2020, where Biden comes in 4th place, 5th place in Iowa, New Hampshire, and then somehow gets rammed.
Exactly. No one talks about that. This is another leftist narrative that, when you look at the hard facts, it gets destroyed. Democrats are the party of democracy. Okay, how's a party that claims to be a protector of democracy within their own primary system? They got a system called super electrics where they can nominate someone and it has just as much weight as if a bunch of primary voters voted for a candidate. And that's what happened with Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders was winning. Bernie Sanders was looking like he was going to be the nominee until the super delegates put their hands on the scale and tipped it in Hillary Clinton's favor, then in Biden's favor in 2020. And then Elizabeth Warren stayed in the race to take votes away from Bernie Sanders to hand Biden to win. Make it make sense. Elizabeth Warren was more progressive than Joe Biden, so of course she was gonna split the support for Bernie Sanders. But everyone that was threatening to Joe Biden's dropped out. How you do that? How you do that? Democrats, the nomination, the chairman. There's a system behind the Democratic Party. There's a group of elites in the Democratic Party like Obama, the Pelosi's. If you don't get their blessings, you're not going to win. And this is what Peter Thiel is kind of highlighting here in this clip.
Through South Carolina, all the other candidates drop off, so it's the extremely non-democratic primary in the Democratic Party in 2020, and then an even less democratic process by which Biden was replaced with Harris. And yeah, it was going to be this. And if the machine could defeat Trump, I thought it was reasonable that it would gain even more power, and somehow be unbeatable, and the country would become California, would become a one-party state.
Yeah, exactly. If Kamala Harris had won, we would have been a one-party country. If Kamala Harris had won, right? And it's baffling to me that the Democratic Party feels so sure of themselves now. They talk all this mess, right? And I want to get back to the opening statement that I said in this channel, right? Leftism has pretty much created, they dogmatized everything, because leftists, and this is a socialist tactic, this is a Marxist tactic. If you know anything about socialists, communists, one of their rules is invade the institutions until we gain control of the institutions. And one of the institutions that got taken over was the science community. This is why a lot of people, especially liberals, they like to categorize Republicans as anti-science, anti-this. You guys don't trust the expert, because there's a thing called fallacy of authority. And just because people in authority say something is not harmful, it's not true. Oh, vaccines are safe. They probably are. Most of them probably are. But there's some concerns that we need to suss out. Hey, why autism is on? Why we go through so much chronic disease? Hey, how come it's so convenient that pharmaceutical companies benefit from the fact that we got an obesity crisis that's going to come? I think by 2050, half of Americans will be considered obese. Hey, what do you know? Celebrities are using this new drug called Ozempic, I think it's called. How convenient they got a drug that came out just in time to help you get skinny as we're going through an obesity crisis in America. You can call it conspiracy theory all you want, but that's just how a skeptical person thinks. They're thinking why all these outcomes are happening? What's causing these outcomes? And that's what the answers Americans are looking for. And this is one of the reasons why many people support RFK getting his butt in the HHS. I digress. Let's take out this clip of Peter Thiel talking about the science and the dogmatic nature that science has become.
One of the things I've been thinking about since Tuesday, but really over the past few years, is this sort of intramural fight between the elites, what you've called the Borg or the NPCs or the blob, the groupthink that controls so many of our institutions in the Democratic Party, and then what you've described as the Rebel Alliance. there's a debate, I think, happening inside the Rebel Alliance between people who are maybe on the more radical fringe of it, who say, we don't need institutions, really. We don't need gatekeepers, or there's something about gatekeeping in and of itself that's corrupting. And I think you can see
And the gatekeeping thing, because I have this kind of I have a similar worldview to this. I think that college degrees I see as a form of gatekeeping, credentialism, because what the left has done, they educated themselves, they went to school in a bigger whatever, and then when they got themselves, they worked their way up, they got these positions of power. Now, if you look at college education, college is the most left-wing institution in the world. 12-to-1 ratio for every one conservative. There's 12 liberal teachers. You already know the stats. And to get this credential now, you have to go through all this left-wing indoctrination just to get the piece of paper so you can have a successful life. So success is almost synonymized with leftism because they have taken over the institutions. And this is one of the reasons why you got this rebel nature of people, well, let's not trust the institution. Let's shut it down. Let's take it down. Let's remove it. Let's destroy it. And this is exactly what happened to the science, in the science community, right? A lot of these scientists, I'm a climate change. But I'm like, yo, your whole institution relies on the fact that climate change is a thing. And it goes back to my point in the beginning about leftist narratives and the fact that they keep repeating stuff with repetition, and they don't allow alternative views to counteract that repetition. Climate change is different from climate danger. What's more dangerous to human survival, human prosperity? Cold weather or hot weather? Cold weather. There's more deaths in cold weather than hot weather. So why are we scared of global warming? Global warming don't hurt us like that. And another leftist narrative that I want to debunk, people saying that we're getting hotter and hotter. Oh my God, we need to cool everything down, or whatever narrative they want to put. If you look at the north, whatever, like a picture of the earth, everything relatively stayed the same with the earth, relatively. Now, there's certain time periods where the earth was all ice. Okay, so I asked a climate changer, okay, so what period in history on the Earth's history was its natural state? When it was all ice? When it was all water? What climate you think is the best climate? And it end up being everything being subjective. Oh, you think the Earth's too hot? Oh, who are you? Are you God? Like it's so funny. Like the human condition is adaptability. We have to adapt. And the climate's been changing throughout the Earth's history. I just told you this place was entirely ice. So when did climate change begin? That's a question leftists can't really answer. And that's the annoying thing about leftists. Tim Meyer says that if Trump had lost, this country would have had a hard time dealing with it. There's a lot of old timers that they fuse was getting short, if you know what I mean. Hey, these baby boomers, they holding on to power. I already did a video on that, but let's continue.
See this, I'll use a specific example. Part of this whole like make America healthy again, MAHA movement, RFK phenomenon, I think is very healthy. And it's about a skepticism of big pharma and a skepticism, an idea that, why should we go along with the fact that there's chemicals in all of our food? Why shouldn't we be skeptical of the fact that 35% or something crazy like that of American kids have prediabetes, these crazy health outcomes, and let's be skeptical.
Yes.
But then it can tip just so fast into vaccines cause autism territory. And I guess I wonder how you think about the fine line between skepticism of maybe an elite whose gatekeeping has been too strident or too zealous or too narrow.
And it gives me back to this point about Candace Owens, and I think I tweeted this out, that Candace Owens, she got mocked by a lot of these science people on X when she said that science is a religion. And I was like, man, you went a little left field with that one, Candace. But then I started thinking about it. I was like, yo, science has somewhat become a religion because eventually, right? COVID is a perfect example of this. And I'm going to show you the clip with COVID. Is that when you came out, rare natural immunity, herd immunity, these are things that throughout the time of history, we all knew it was a thing. But for some reason with COVID, it didn't apply. It didn't apply to COVID. All the scientific experts said that herd immunity is not effective against COVID. And people was like, what are you talking about? It's been effective against other diseases. What makes COVID so special? No answer. But all the consensus was saying herd immunity cannot stop COVID. Then Trump put out, I remember it was like a doctor community, and this whole medical establishment went out and tried to discredit these people. People who had the same credentials as they did, pushing back against the narrative that, oh yeah, young people need to stay inside. Oh, herd immunity is not a thing. This what let the science community lost credibility, and this is why they lost trust, the American people's trust. And then they try to play this game. Oh, RFK is a vaccine denier and all this stuff. And there's numerous clips of RFK saying that he's not a vaccine denier. He's just skeptical of the methodologies used to prove certain things about vaccines. That's it. That's why all he's asking is for more scrutiny, more rigor when it comes to these studies about the outcomes of these vaccines. And one of the things that gives skeptical people like me alarm bells is the fact that pharmaceutical companies can't be held liable for vaccine injuries. This is crazy. This is some craziness right here. Titanium Master says, Kenny, you're the man. You're a great speaker and very well versed. You should do some speaking engagements and try to convert some of these lost young adults that have been brainwashed. I feel like I still need some practice in the field, but I appreciate the compliment, Titanium Master. Let's get back into this clip because I think I want to hear Peter Till's answer before I move on.
And falling into a rabbit hole or falling maybe off the map where you're in a place where there's sort of no gatekeeping and no institutional authority at all. Does that make sense?
Yeah, these are not, man, you always ask really easy questions, Barry.
I've just been thinking about this one so
Yes.
much because I've watched
Yes.
the understandable emotional arc where people who were told you're a conspiracy theorist only to have their conspiracy, let's say about the origins of COVID, be proven right.
Exactly.
But by that time, they've already fallen off into the deep end
Exactly.
where they're trafficking and all kinds of things that
Yes.
seem truly crazy.
Yeah, well, let me articulate all the different types of institutions. You can do this with intelligence agencies or with, I don't know, environmental institutions or, but maybe one kind of institution where you can ask this question about is science as an institution. And the way I always think of the history of science was that it started as a two-front war against both excessive dogmatism and excessive skepticism.
Okay, I agree with that premise. Science is it's like a balancing rope between skepticism and dogma. But many people use science. Oh, trust the science, trust the science. That's doctrine. Oh, science says that this is clear that men and women cannot, trans women are women, right? They'll use something like that. And I'm like, yo, science doesn't prove that. Look at this science that goes counteract to the exact thing you're referencing here. What are you talking about? It's always been like that. Science was never meant to be something that you use to dogmatically shut down opposition. There's no credible science that says that there's any link to vaccines and autism. Well, if you never do the study, we can never know for sure if that's the case or not. We only have this one study that got disproven. All right, I had to say this from YouTube. Got disproven, but the fact that we didn't look any deeper to try to explain, hey, why do we have a sudden increase in autism? There was no studies to try to find the conclusion for that. Why not? And this is the skepticism part about science. Science, the very premise of science is based in the empirical method. The empirical method is you want to find something demonstrable, observable, to prove and correlate an outcome to some type of process. We're trying to find the source of the outcome. What is causing we see the outcome. Autism is high. Now, some people say, oh, it's due to our testing. Our testing got better. We're better able to diagnose the problem. But there's other things that we have changed in our social norms that could be a correlating factor to it, right? For instance, I made a correlation that, hey, women nowadays, they have kids a lot later in life. I think that could be a contributing factor to autism, but I have no science or no studies to back up my claim. And this is something that RFK has been highlighting and pointing out in our health system. And this is all he's trying to do. All he's trying to do is find the answers to this stuff. I appreciate you, Titanium Master. He gave a $9 super chat. He just put wrecked. I appreciate it. So I'm gonna get back to the video because I think Peter Thiel is about to go. He's about to cook. He's about to go in.
And so if you are over in the 17th and 18th century, a scientist was a heterodox thinker who didn't believe in, let's say, the decayed Aristotelian scholasticism of the Catholic Church. And you were empirical, and there were these dogmas that you were open to questioning. But you also couldn't be extremely skeptical. So if you can't trust your senses, and if I don't believe you're sitting there, extreme skepticism was also incompatible with science. So extreme dogmatism was incompatible, extreme skepticism is incompatible. And the problem is, yeah, it's easy to be against one, but if you're always just against dogmatism, then maybe you're too skeptical of everything. And if you're always against skepticism, maybe you're too dogmatic. And so there's this very complicated balance where we need to be both anti-dogmatic and anti-skeptical.
And the only way you can do that is reality, right? You can have a theory in reality, but reality shows whether your theory is true or not. What validates something being true or not? Statement. A man can't be a woman. There's only 2 genders. The theory is there's 25 genders, there's multiple. Okay, what are the characteristics of these 25 genders? What differentiate them to be having their own category amongst them? Nothing. Craziness. That's dogma. Oh no, science says that man can't be this. No, your science is flawed. You're trying to create these justifications, these theories, but you don't want to test them in reality. You're just supposed to accept it. Oh, I'm not a biologist, so I can't tell you if there's only more than 2 genders. What? That's dogma. I don't need to be a biologist to tell you that there's only 2 genders. The human species is only created by 2 genders. There's only 2 chromosomes. Any basic research will give you that. Hell, even the Bible said there's only 2 genders. Right? But guess who's more likely to believe that men can be women and women can be men? Atheists. And this is an indictment on science. Atheists has been the very thing they accuse Christians of being. And you guys already know my stance here. I believe Christians are the most honest people when it comes to the God debate. Christians believe God exists. Atheists pretend God doesn't exist. Because at the end of the day, they're both operating on a belief system. But atheists pretend, oh, it's just scientific. It's just scientific. No, it's not. Oh, there's nothing physical. It doesn't exist. There's things that exist outside of your perception. True or false? True. You think this earth, right? This reality existed for billions of years. And you think your little what? You live less than 100 years in this world and you think you know everything about it to make that claim? At least a Christian is honest in saying that, yeah, I believe God exists because of these certain things. But atheists pretend that they're not this is why I say atheism is a belief system. And this is how science became a religion. It's just become a mechanism to exact power. And this shows you that when the atheists get mad or they get concerned about religion, like totalitarian, a theocratic state and all this stuff, science is operating similar to how the Roman Catholics operated in earlier, I don't know, I forget when, in Rome. Scientists are operating in the same way. Oh, you have to believe what I say. I am the scientist. I'm a biologist. And I said there's more than 2 genders. Huh? What's your evidence for that? Look at these individuals. They wouldn't be feeling this way if it wasn't true. No, that could be me. They could just be delusional. Right? And this is exactly what happened. Look, you can't make this up. You can't. Science has become the very thing they claim religion is. Religion have ethics and morals to govern the people that subscribe to the religion. Science don't have that. So you get all these people battling for power, trying to discredit the other person, and then you wonder why COVID fell apart, why people don't trust scientists anymore. Actually, not scientists. They don't trust experts anymore because many people believe that experts are leveraging their position to push a worldview on the masses. And once you misuse the power, once people lose trust in an institution, unfortunately, you have to break it down or you have to reform it. And RFK is seen as a reformer. I digress. I think I went on a long-winded tangent here, so let's go.
And, and probably my feel for it would be that in the 17th and 18th century, it was probably more anti-dogmatic than anti-skeptical, but it was, some of both. But if we fast forward to 2024 and you asked scientists, where is science too dogmatic, and where is science where are people too skeptical, where are people being too dogmatic? And I think there are a whole long list of things where they say there are climate change skeptics, there are vaccine skeptics, there are Darwin skeptics, there are
Yep, I'm that too.
There are all these people who are too skeptical, and the skepticism is undercutting science. So we're on war of skeptics of all sorts. And then if you asked the scientists, where are the scientists too dogmatic? I don't
Zero
think they
idea.
could tell you a single thing where science is too dogmatic. And doesn't that tell you that
Science, I forgot where I get this quote from, but I remember science is about questioning things. Remember, it goes back to my point. Ask me a question I can't answer, not an answer I can't question. If I can't question your answers, hey, I don't believe that. I like. What do you mean that autism is not correlated with vaccine, whatever? And then you ask a question. They go, "Oh, you anti-vaxxer? You just did it. That's dogma. You just created a dogma." Because science, the very core of science, is to question assumptions, question preconceived notions of things. Question to see, hey, is our current understanding of the world still valid today? That's what science used to be about. Now it's dogma. Now it's dogmatic. And the fact that they can't think of a zero idea means they lost their skepticism of science in of itself.
we have completely lost this sense of balance, and we are way too we are what has become science. I'll use air quotes around science, is something that is more dogmatic than the Catholic Church was in the 17th century.
Hey, that's all I needed to hear, bro. That's all I needed to hear. Science in 2024 is more dogmatic than the Catholic Church in the 17th century. Wow. Wow. I'm going to have to do a full video on that. Wow. So, I got a couple minutes before I go in. I really want to show you the Cenk Uygur debate. So for all my people I'm trying to find out, here's another thing too. Elizabeth Warren is out here making these claims about RFK, right? He posed a dangerous threat to public health and scientific research, medicine, and health coverage for millions. And I already pointed out that I believe there's a conflict of interest here. You see, the top 20 members that received money from the pharmaceutical and health products from 2019 to 2020, you got Bernie Sanders at number one, and got Elizabeth Warren here. $800,000 she received. Bernie Sanders received $1 million from pharmaceutical companies as a donation. Wow. There's a profit motive here that's being protected. There's a conflict of interest here. So when people come out here trying to slander RFK, and this is how leftist narratives crumble. Hey, leftist narrative, you have a conflict of interest here. You benefit financially for everything staying the same, right? Our health system, chronic diseases increase under your watch. Autism seems to increase under your watch, and you're not trying to find any answers to alleviate or discover what if there's any cause to the increase in autism and obesity in our country. You're not looking for it. And then you expect us to continue trusting you? Hell no. So let's get to Matt Gaetz a little bit. So I found this clip. It's a 1 minute and 49 minutes. I'll probably let it play out throughout, and then I'll give my wrap up. I'll give a quick thought about it before I go into the main event, which you guys are here for. And here's Candace Owens explaining how Matt Gaetz was being extorted. And, you could take it or leave it because, many people, at the end of the day, this is all he says, she says stuff. Like I said, I'm neutral on the whole thing. I think I believe in you're innocent until proven guilty. So I'm assuming Matt Gaetz is innocent. He continues denying these allegations. But I found this kind of clip interesting from Candace Owens. So I'm done talking. Let's go.
They tried to paint Matt Gaetz like a complete crazy person. And you can imagine, remember, the adults are back in charge, right? That this was getting all of the coverage. This Trump ally, he's out here, he's doing this with a 17-year-old girl. And he fought through this. And it sounded like a conspiracy, right? To say that the Department of Justice is using former employees and liaising to try to siphon $25 million from your dad. But Matt Gaetz alleged that the local FBI instructed his dad to wear a wire to record the conversation with the person that was trying to extort them. And guess what? It turned out that Matt Gaetz was telling the truth. In August of 2022, so a little over a year and a half later, Stephen Alford was sentenced to 5 years in prison for a scheme to extort $25 million from the Gaetz family. So you can just imagine the Department of Justice's surprise. Oh my gosh, you're going to nominate now? He's in charge of the Department of Justice? You're going to make him the U.S. Attorney General? I love it. I love it, okay? He absolutely must be confirmed. And they're freaking out, and they're being honest about why they're freaking out. They're like, well, then he's going to have access to the files of when we were investigating him. And like, by the way, we didn't find anything, so it's not a big deal. But we don't want to, this is an insane pick. Why on earth would they allow him in? Yeah, because you realize that he is someone who you are not going to be able to flip into one of your allies because you attempted to ruin his life and to ruin his reputation. And these are exactly the kinds of picks that we mean. I need someone who has a chip on their shoulder.
And this is RFK. This is Tulsi Gabbard, right? This is Matt Gaetz, right? This is all speculation, right? But someone did go to jail for trying to extort Matt Gaetz' family, right? That did happen, right? So that gives me more credence to think he's more innocent than guilty. And the Judicial Committee, I believe they had something. They wouldn't be waiting on no formalities not to do it. I think they would have just dropped it already. And this is another part with the leftist narrative is that when you start looking for facts that actually, hey, can I find something that backs up the claims that they're pushing out here in the world? You find it's more doubtful than actually true. And that little snippet from Candace Owens, that 1 minute and 49 seconds snippet of Candace Owens, makes perfect sense. Hey, if someone went to jail for extorting Matt Gaetz, maybe what he's saying is true. We'll see. But the fact that, hey, you try to go after me, try to extort me, and now I'm going to be in charge of you. You see the freak out. It goes back to conflict of interest. Hey, there's a conflict of interest here, right? RFK is a conspiracy theories. Let's review the record of conspiracy theorists during the pandemic.
You will always have
participants.
So that wasn't scientifically sound.
Will any lessons be?
This is how scientists lose their credibility, right? This is how scientists lose their credibility.
It's not me saying it, but the New York Times. The mask mandates did nothing. Will any lessons be learned? Brett Stevens cites a comprehensive...
Remember, all the scientists said, you got to wear a mask. It prevents COVID. It prevents contamination.
British review of 78 randomized studies with more than 600,000 participants.
So that wasn't scientifically sound.
Effective.
The mask guidance
correct.
was not
It wasn't science-based, and the 6 feet of distancing was arbitrary.
It was arbitrary, but at the time they were saying, oh, no, this is scientists. You got to trust the experts. Because someone with a title told you, you have to do this, and therefore you have to do that. Like, make it make sense. These are the people. These are the left-wing bias. Like, these people, bro, like, I can't take them seriously sometimes. Right? And now we're going to get to the main event. Shank! We're going to debate. Trump's a fascist. All right, this is what we all here for. 8-minute clip. Is Trump a fascist? The biggest narrative, the most consistent narrative by the left. And you're going to see when this British man pushes back on Shank, Shank is ready to go into an incoherent rant that means absolutely nothing to the conversation. But I digress. You know, I've been talking for an hour and 30 minutes, and we're getting close to wrapping up. So I'll play this doozy for a good 2 minutes uninterrupted. Hopefully I don't get copyrighted.
So you don't call Trump Hitler, and you don't call the Republicans Nazis. But when you say the word fascist, as you say, the meaning of that word has been eroded. That's where most people's minds is going to go. right?
So what do so you guys tell me, what should I call his obvious dictatorial tendencies? And his obvious over-the-top
You know
racism?
what? Actually, this is a really great question, because what I'd love for you to do is, and this is a genuine question, I'm not trying to catch you out or anything like that. I genuinely am interested. I have heard a lot of rhetoric from people about Donald Trump and the concerns that they have about the next 4 years. And, you know, people use words like fascist, dictatorial, etc. What do you fear over the next 4 years he is going to do that makes you say in the present moment
This is gonna be
that
rich.
he's
This is gonna be funny.
dictatorial, fascist? What is he going to do you think?
Yeah. So again, I don't know that he's going to do it because there's countervailing forces.
What do you fear?
And I think the countervailing forces are super interesting, and we should talk about that.
He didn't answer the question. Like he already went on a spiel. I try to give him a lot of talk, but I gotta jump in here. The man asked for some specifics. Hey, what is specifically gonna do? Oh, I don't know he's gonna do that, but he's a fascist. So when you say someone's a fascist, it's like me. Okay, look, guys. Let's make an example. Let's make an obvious example. Kenny's black. Okay, Kenny's black. Okay, what makes Kenny's black? Oh, well, I don't know he's black. I never seen the man. I never met the man. Oh, wait, but you just said he was black. So you have to have some evidence that already show you he's the thing that you said he is. He should have already done something that would have made him a fascist. Therefore, you don't have no example. This is all his imagination. No, let me lean back on the chair. A poster here from Seneca, a philosopher I like to listen to a lot. We are more frightened than hurt. We suffer more from imagination than from reality. The left suffers more from the reality. The left suffers more from the imagination. The imagination of Trump being a fascist than the reality of what Trump is. Trump is a common sense individual that believes in some type of governance. He's not a dictator, right? When he said I'm going to be a dictator on day one, he was joking. Any normal person would perceive that as a joke, but because Shank has a conclusion that he's trying to make Trump into, he has to take everything Trump says, anything Trump gives him, any alteration Trump gives him to push somebody to that conclusion that Trump's a fascist, he'll jump right on it. But I digress.
And I'm really interested to see which way the right wing goes in this country under Trump. But the worst case scenario is he gets frazzled and feels challenged, and he falls back on what he always does, which is just protect his ego. And so he starts pilfering, and that's very much in his nature. Grab, take, because now there's no accountability. What are you going to do? Impeach him? What are you going to do? Arrest him? No accountability. There's no brakes in the car. So we're all at his mercy.
Sorry to interrupt, but this is important for clarity. What do you mean by pilfering? He's going to be pilfering and pilfering.
Okay, so easy examples, but there's a million of these. He puts Jared Kushner in charge of the Middle East last time around and Saudi Arabia. Jared Kushner at some point goes to Saudi Arabia, talks to Mohammed bin Salman, and right afterwards, Mohammed bin Salman arrests a whole bunch of people. Okay, I don't want to get too much into what happened in that meeting and what the results were. But whatever it was, Mohammed bin Salman was super pleased because right after the election, he gives Jared Kushner $2 billion to manage. But he gets 2 and 20 on that. So if you know private equity and how that works, what that means is he's going to make hundreds of millions of dollars.
I don't know. I feel like this is just an accusation from Cenk, right? Because Cenk don't help his credibility by calling someone a fascist, but then you give no specifics about it. Then you're saying this person got under the table deals. Jared Kushner, all I know is when he was the ambassador in the Middle East, he helped facilitate the peace in the Middle East deal that Donald Trump was able to sign, the Abraham Accords, if I remember correctly. I believe Jared Kushner played some part into that. And I remember when he first got nominated by Donald Trump, many people was like, this Jared Kushner kid got no experience, no nothing. They were slandering Jared Kushner the same way they're slandering Pete Hegseth, the same way they're slandering Matt Gaetz, same way they're slandering Robert F. Kennedy. They were slandering Jared Kushner. But Jared Kushner had a great result that everyone would be like, yo, this guy's a good ambassador. He went to the Middle East, peace in the Middle East. He helped facilitate the Abraham's Accord with Donald Trump. He never done the job before, but he did it way better. He got a equal outcome than an experienced person would. Yet Donald Trump is doing the same thing with RFK, Tulsi Gabbard, Matt Gaetz, Pete Hegseth. The left wants to pretend like Donald Trump didn't have a previous track record of putting people who are not commonly the expected pick. Like if you want change, you do something different. If you want innovation, you don't pick from the crop of people that are used to a certain things being a certain way. And this is the dogmatic thinking that many people on the right is challenging. That the left wants you to follow, oh, this is how we do things. This is the doctrine. You must follow the doctrine. And conservatives is going, nah, the doctrine's not working for us. We got to be skeptical of how you do things because the outcomes from how you're doing things now is not benefiting the American people. But, I digress.
So if Hunter Biden got a $2 billion deal from the Saudis after Joe Biden left office, I was like, Hunter Biden's not a Ukrainian gas expert. That's nuts.
Okay,
and that was $5 million.
So your fear number one is that his family will benefit financially from his presence, and him will benefit financially.
And his donors, most of all his donors.
What else?
Okay, so that's, but to be fair to Trump, like part of the reason the establishment hates him is because he's systemically and personally corrupt, whereas they're just largely systemically corrupt.
I'm accepting all this for the sake of argument without challenging, because I just want you to get to like the real fascism that he's going to do that you worry
So the
about.
reason I'm saying that is because since most of the politicians are systemically corrupt anyway, that's not the fascism.
That's
I'm
my
referring
point.
to.
Yeah. So where's the fascism?
So he says, I'm going to deport all the undocumented immigrants. So
that's not fascism. That's securing your border. That's withholding your law. That's keeping true to your laws. That's not fascism. Now, if you say he was gonna kill illegal immigrants, okay, maybe you might have an argument there. Tank. But that's not what he's doing. So why are you calling him a fascist? This is where the leftist narrative start crumbling. He does things that I don't like. He's using the government to do things that I don't like. Therefore, he's a fascist. Then technically, you fall under that same definition. Left-wing progressive. Y'all all for centralizing power in one office so you can do the transformation that you need to give people the life that they deserve. But that requires power, the power to do fascism. And this is the problem with progressivism. It always leads to totalitarianism. This is why these people want to build consensus. They always want to have some type of place where they can have centralized control over everything. And it's 3 minutes in, and he still hasn't even given a semblance of something specific that Donald Trump will do. Let's see how they push back on him on this statement.
Some people might say, yeah, good. Rip them out of their homes, 13, 15 million people, whatever it is. Oh, they're running a diner. They're beloved in their neighborhood. They married an American citizen. Whatever they did, I don't care. And, their kids are American citizens. Rip them away from their babies and send them the goddamn back home. Now, that's a debatable point as to whether that's fascism. My guess is that if he starts doing it, and you start seeing people ripped out of their homes, that people are going to go, oh, that don't look good.
I don't think he's going to do that.
Yeah. Well, okay, we're going to find out. He might not. We're going to find out.
But if he was to, let's say, I think the more likely scenario, I don't know if you agree with Jeng, but I think it's possible that this is the more likely scenario, is he deports all the people who've committed a crime in this country who are illegal immigrants, right? People not only came here illegally, but have committed a crime, and people who don't have American family and don't have dependents here. Let's say he was to deport all those people. Would that be fascism in your view?
Actually, Trump's going to deport, with the people who have family here, right? If they can't take care of themselves, they get deported with their parents, right? Because the left made this whole big hoopla about kids being separated from families. Okay, deport them together. Tom Homan, that's his policy. They can get deported together. And that's how you should. Like I said, if your family committed fraud to give you a rich lifestyle, and they get held accountable for it, and they take all the fraud money away, and no one's gonna go, oh my God, but the kid got used to this lifestyle. It's unfair that you take all these millions and millions of dollars away from the parents, and the kid has to go back to living with poverty. Yeah, because your parents got the means. It was ill-gotten. They got those means by fraud, and they rewarded you with fraudulent money or a fraudulent lifestyle that they were not supposed to have in the first place. It's the same thing with American citizenship for the child. Oh, it's unfair that you're gonna deport my parents and then deport me along with it because I can't take care of myself yet. Well, that's your parents' fault. They illegally came in this country, had you, You know, hey, you can't be here by yourself, so you go with your parents. Your parents is the reason why you're going through this right now. All the American government is doing is upholding its own laws. But I digress. I'll give this like 2 more minutes because Shank's taking a while, bro. Shank's taking a while.
I don't even know if he deported all the undocumented immigrants, it would be fascism. I'm not even stipulating
okay,
to that.
So let's get to the fascism, though, because this is what I want to get to, right?
And by the way, people who committed crimes should obviously be deported.
Right.
Yeah, nothing. He got nothing.
So,
He got nothing.
So then the thing that I'm concerned about is both him and the potential attorney general saying, if you're on a campus and you're protesting Trump, you're protesting Israel, you're protesting the oil companies, you're protesting something we don't like, arrest and deport you. Wait, what happened to cancel culture? I mean, arresting someone for protesting or voicing their speech is the most both cancel culture you could do. I mean, you're taking the guy's freedom away, right?
Yeah, agreed. But
deporting people that are American citizens. What the hell are you talking about?
Yeah, you can't do that. But did he do any of that in his first term?
So he didn't. He didn't do that.
Okay.
Okay, but so and that's why I say, guys, when he's running, he threatens to do total complete shutdown of Muslims. Yeah. He threatens to arrest and deport people, etc. But he didn't necessarily do it. So for example, they said lock her up, and then he got into office and he said, no, I'm not locking Hillary Clinton up. So
But when Biden got in office, he tried to lock Donald Trump up. So why aren't you calling Biden a fascist? Biden administration, DOJ has done everything that you claim that Donald Trump would do if he was a fascist, right? Censorship people, put them in jail. Like Twitter was doing that. Twitter's doing that right now. Not right now, but Twitter, during the Twitter files, that's what they were doing. They're like, hey, I'm a politician. I'm a Democrat politician. I don't like this post. Deboost it. Jack Dorsey. And now they're running to Jack Dorsey's blue sky. Make it make sense. Isn't that not fascism? You threaten Elon Musk. Oh, when Harris wins, we're going to go after Elon Musk. And they were going after Elon Musk right now when he was campaigning for Trump. They're like, oh, we don't like what he said on the internet. We're going to try to hold his contracts in SpaceX in California. That's what made, what's his name? Elon's like, no, I'm getting out of here. You guys are prosecuting me based on stuff that I'm saying on my own platform that has nothing to do with my businesses here in California. And you're using you're using what I'm saying on X to prosecute me in California, saying that I broke some type of law. Huh? Does that sound like fascism to you, Shank? This man don't got nothing, bro. He don't got nothing to say, bro. Nothing.
So I have an open mind. But when he threatens, when he threatens those type of things, I go, I am deeply, deeply concerned. Now, here's other things.
Okay.
So they had a 3-hour meeting after he lost the election, where Michael Flynn and I believe Sidney Powell, don't quote me on that, I don't want to get sued, okay, but definitely Michael Flynn said, let's use martial law. Let's roll out the tanks, okay? And we won this election, and we're going to correct the fraud, and let's go grab the actual ballot machines. Okay.
I don't think he said that, but.
And Trump was like, okay, now I'm listening. Now we're having a conversation. And that's why it lasted 3 hours.
So you
At the end, hold on.
No, hold on. You're talking about something that already happened. I'm asking you about the future. Let's just stick with that.
No, but that's totally relevant.
No, well, I'm sure, which is why I'm asking you the question to follow up. So do you fear that at the end of this 4-year period, he's not going to relinquish power? Is that what you're saying?
So since he didn't relinquish power last time, yes.
Well, ultimately he did, but you fear...
Oh, come on, guy.
He walked out of the office. Sure, you didn't like the way he did it. Sure, Donald Trump tried to challenge that he believed that, hey, I need to recount. Hey, you using illegal ballots that they're doing right now in Pennsylvania, by the way, right? He said, yo, I didn't lose. I don't believe I lose. Hey, I want to get a recount. I want to do this. Judges kept shooting it down because they say he didn't have a case. Trump went down fighting to make his case for why he thought that he won the election. Once Trump exhausted all his paths, all his options, when it was time for him to go, he just left. He just left, Shank. He just left. He didn't try to fight. You didn't have to the military didn't have to rip Trump out of the White House. He just left. And he's sitting here pretending, come on, guys, come on. This is what happens when you don't got nothing. Man got nothing.
Fine, let's accept that for the sake of argument again. So you fear that at the end of this 4-year period, when he can no longer run for election again, you fear that he will not hand over the presidency.
A guy who said, let's terminate the Constitution, considered martial law, and had a fake elector plot to steal an election, might he try to stay in power? Of course! Of course he tried to do it.
Of course! I was waiting for it. Man is airlifting quotes, bro. I think it's the same thing, because at the end of the day, I seen how they, like, they clip Trump, they clip Vivek, they clip all these other people out of context. I think he's doing a similar thing here when he talking about Trump's canceling the Constitution. I don't think Trump actually said that. But, I digress. So I went through a whole reality check for 2024, all the leftist narratives when it's encountered with facts. Doesn't really hold much weight, much water. I hope you guys enjoyed the live stream. I hope you guys enjoy your weekend. I'll catch you guys on the next live stream. Don't forget to like the video on your way out. I appreciate everyone that showed up in the chat. Tim Meyer, Titanium Master, I appreciate the super chat once again. Cheese Work, always nice to have you on. Dance with Incels, appreciate you showing up. American, thank you so much for coming. Don't forget to like the video on your way out. I really do appreciate you guys for spending some time with me. And I hope you guys enjoy your night. And I'll see you guys on the next live stream. Peace.